Today we have a different person that is going to share her experience with us. So, welcome. What is your name and background?
Hello to everybody. My name is Virginia Garófano. I am an environmentalist. I studied environmental sciences at the University of Granada, and then I did my PhD at the Department of Hydraulic Engineering and Environment at the Polytechnic University of Valencia. And later I did a postdoc in France, and all my research has been related with riparian plant species. Also, I have been doing many studies about the spatial distribution patterns of species in relation with different hydrogeomorphological factors. I have been also very interested in river restoration, and now I am quite interested to work in innovation for governance.
Thank you, Virginia. Very interesting background. And we would like to know now, what is your current institution and your role in this institution? So where do you work and what do you do there?
I am co-responsible right now for the implementation of the REDAPTA project at the Surface River Basin. So I am collaborating with the CREAF at the Universitat Politécnica de Valencia. And I am also the secretary of the Plataforma Ciutadana per a la Defensa del Riu Serpis, which is a multi-sectorial space, governance space for the Surface River Basin.
Good. So precisely that is why we want your experience today to share this innovation in governance experience that you have in the River Serpis. And so we would also like to know which is the main focus of your research.
Okay. I have mainly been involved in different researches about riparian plant species and environmental flows, the relation between plant and environmental flows, because they were always quite related with fish, but not with plants. And also I was working in the development of response curves to hydraulic variables and hydraulic variables. Right now I am working in the innovation in water governance, especially in the decision-making processes related to water governance and adaptation to global change. And this project, the REDAPTA project, is related with this aspect, is the adaptation to global change in Mediterranean river basins. In our case, is the Serpis River.
Yeah, that introduces the key issue we want to know about. So in this course, we are talking about innovation of governance. And as Annabelle already said, we would like to know more about your experience. And I know that you had a series of projects dealing with innovation of governance. So before entering into details of the project we share with CREAF together, I'd like to ask you, what is the framework of projects that you developed already in the field of governance for adaptation?
I was involved in different projects related with environmental flows. And one of the last projects that my research team was working on was related with the modification of better understanding of the operational rules of the main reservoir in the river basin in order to maximize the benefits for agriculture, but also maximizing the habitat for fish species, native fish species, reducing the habitat for invasive species, and working all of these rules within different climate change scenarios. So this was a very interesting project to be developed in the basin, because it was combining different water uses. And in the last dissemination activity of the project, many stakeholders from the basin were congregated. they were speaking about how important is to work in governance, to know the priorities of each stakeholder, to work together as a team. And let's say that the seed of the Plataforma del Service was planted that day. All these people together decided to create a multi-sectorial space where they could speak about the problems of the basin and try to find suitable and integrative solutions to be carried out, propose this to the administrations and work together. So this is a very important point because it's how the Plataforma del Service was conceived and started working with the help of all the environmental associations that were working at that time in the basin. And this platform is very important for the Redapta project, our second project in this sense, because the project would haven't been possible without the work in the Plataforma, because has been the main structure to develop the adaptation measures that we can explain better and now. And also I am also very interested in citizen science participation. And within the Redapta project, we have done a small citizen experience involving citizens of all the basin to monitor different actions that were implemented, restoration actions. They have consisted in a participatory monitoring of different aspects. In one of the basins, the Tordera Basin, they were mainly involved. They were mainly working with birds, and in the Serpis River, we were working with plants and hydromorphology mainly. And we developed some interactive tools, and we capacitated the people to use these tools and to monitor different indicators along the time, in different periods, to understand, to monitor these indicators and understand the functionality of the system and the health river status, the ecological river status in general. So these monitoring activities have been very important because they have bring people together. They brought people together to these experimental sites. And I think these activities about citizen participation have induced several changes in social perception about how the rivers are working, why we have to develop measures to adaptate us to the global climate change, and to really appreciate that these are sensitive river areas that need protection, and that we have to take decisions and help to preserve them.
Yeah, thank you. I think a very important point I wanted to ask you about, you already answered. So in the innovation in governance, often we aim to build new relations between different stakeholders in the river basin. And I think you clarified that this actually was not only done, but it was also the origin of all these interactions. So that's very interesting. And do you also consider that these projects contributed to an increased coordination between different institutions? Because the multi-stakeholder platform includes also institutions. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Yes, I totally agree. I think this project has been very important to help to develop this platform, putting in contact different stakeholders, people coming from different sectors with different interests, that they were not speaking together before and sharing their opinions, or how they see the river and how we have to adaptate to global change. But also, I think has been very important to increase the coordination between different institutions, because sometimes they work separately. And with the project that we develop in this, with the methodology or the different steps that we gave, the administrations were involved also in the project. They understand what the people think are the more priority, or the the actions with the highest priority to be developed in the basin. They have been involved listening this. They have taken also these ideas, and they have given us a feedback how these measures can be implemented, and they have shared with other administrations where these measures can be, let's say, applied or incorporated.
Yeah, taken up. So it's also an effort for administrations, no? If from the world of science and of the world of the citizens, we ask for innovation in governance, also administration needs to move out of their zone of comfort, no?
Of course.
So I also would like to ask you, do you consider these projects contributed to visibilize, to make more visible, and to integrate scientific information into these decision-making processes, no? And what methodologies did you use to do so? Because it's a lot of information, a lot of different perspectives. And how did you address the need to integrate all this? How did you do it?
Okay. Yes, I think it's very important to have access to scientific information. So it has to be an information that is complete, that is not biased, so the stakeholders can take better opinions, can have better decisions with a more solid basis in all this deliberative process. So in our case, in the Redacta project, it was very important that the university was also involved in all the process. So it was much more easier to access the information and to ask for information to the different administrations. But I think it's very important to have a better measures and more realistic measures. We need to have good information about the basin, the scientific information. To implement this, to foster this in the Redacta project, we use a methodology known as co-design in order to define measures and reach consensus between the stakeholders about which are the adaptations that are the most important and have the highest priority in the basin that should be implemented to adaptate us to global change. We started at the beginning with some monographic sessions in the Plataforma del Serpis with the help of the university and the people from the project, because it was necessary to identify and agree in the main problems and challenges of the basin at this time, in the strategic objectives that should be tackled, and the common vision, the shared vision of the future of the basin between all the stakeholders. That was very important to do this step first. So we have like a starting point, that we were all in the same situation. Then we performed 3 different workshops to carry out this co-design process. In the first workshop, what we did is we already created a stakeholder map. So we invited to all the stakeholders, people from representing stakeholders in the basin from different interests, with different interests. They were invited and they were working in groups with the same interest, let's say. And they were invited to define the most interesting actions or measures that should be implemented according to their opinion. So it was not the same, the group of the public administration with the people from the university, the scientific or researchers, from people from the environmental associations. They have different ideas to propose. So all these were like in a file where they were described very, very simply, and they were shared in plenary. So with all these groups, we developed a series of measures, and they were characterized qualitatively, very synthetic, with very synthetic information. And in the second workshop, what we did is to characterize these measures with information related to the with describing the action, describing the main problem, the main objective that they were specific directly to work on that, the synergies and contradictions with the legislation or current policies in the territory, the risk or effects of this of implementing this measure, which other administrations or stakeholders should be involved in the process to implement the measure, etc. So there were a list of different characteristics. They were characterized by the stakeholders with the help of the facilitators of the workshop, and at the end we have like a dossier of the potential measures, very well characterized. And also it's important to establish which are the relationships between the different measures and the impacts from one measures to others, no? Because one of them can convergent, and others can be quite different. And then this dossier was presented to the administrations because we wanted to have a feedback if they were suitable or not, and if these actions, these measures could be implemented by their own policies or not. And it was quite surprising for us because the answers were quite positive. We have a very good feedback from many different administrations, local, supra-municipal, regional administrations, the water basin administration. So it was very, very positive. And what we did was to complete the measures with all these motivated answers from the administrations. And then we did a third workshop where there was a debate to exchange opinions between administrations and stakeholders to see how the measures had been modified, completed with the motivated comments from the administrations. And it was very, very positive as well for all the people to exchange and to arrive to a coordination between administrations. And they were like showing very positive feedback to incorporate the measures. And
That's
at the end of the process, we have a validated co-design list of measures with all the basic information and implementation guidelines, with a quite solid and high degree of agreement between stakeholders and administrations, all the participants. So at the end, the final step is like to build like a kind of roadmap for the implementation of all the potential measures of adaptation, and to present all the information in a strategic document. So this is all the process.
So wow, that's really a very nice overview. Thank you. So actually, we can consider that these projects contributed to better policy making and to integrate adaptation into planning exercises which are ongoing, which is really the goal of innovation in governance. Thank you so much, Virginia. Annabelle, I think you wanted to ask a message for the Tunisian colleagues, isn't it?
Thank you, Virginia, for all this nice sharing of information.
You're welcome.
Finally, we would like to get from you what would be your key message to share with our Tunisian colleagues that are taking this course, including innovative governance. So what would be your key message?
Okay, I think I encourage you to develop participatory processes involving citizens. Can be small experiences like the citizen project we did in the river, like recording different indicators and involving people to go to the river and share the experience. But also I encourage you to go a step further and develop a co-design process, which is much more work, of course, but can be very positive because the people can understand the visions, the vision of other people, other stakeholders from the basin, can be very rich for everybody to work in this process. I think sometimes the administrations are completely they don't consider what people think. This work can be from the people to the administrations, can be very positive because all the measures have been previously agreed by the people, and they have already the consensus that these measures will work. And also, I think it's very important, if the administrations are really involved, to show a commitment from the administrations, to show to really appreciate the ideas that are coming from the people, because they have this power from the people that have to start in building the process. And I think it's going to be very positive for everybody. It's I really encourage you to develop this kind of processes within your basins, or not only related with water management, but also other different processes where people can be involved, can work together, can share their knowledge, and then the administration also can participate in the process and incorporate that ideas in the current programs and plans and policies, or those that are under development that will arrive later in the future.
Thank you very much, Virginia. So I think it was a very nice experience to share. And yes, we are very happy that you were able to be with us today.
Thank you to you for inviting me to share our experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Virginia.